What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Investing Bros live show. We have a doozy lined up for you guys today. And yes, once again, for the second time in only 2 weeks, Tim is not wearing a hoodie. I once again pulled out the t-shirt. It's a little warmer here today. Tell me if you guys like that or not. Is that a problem or not to you guys? Does that throw off the entire flow of the show? I'll tell you what the show's about, though, while we're at it. We're going to be discussing a potential prediction here. Not potential, that's the wrong word. Prediction made by a large bank that Bitcoin could be crashing right now. It is sitting overbought. I have a lot of thoughts. Got to get into those later on in the show. But that is the main topic of the day. Of course, Bitcoin right now hovering right below 64,000, having a little bit of a bounce back over the last hour or so. But we are still consistently putting in those lower highs. Are we going to see a lower low? Could we see a breach of 60,000? We'll discuss that and a whole lot more. A new segment I want to start doing sometime in these intros. Question of the day for the chat to give answers in chat. And I want to hear T-Shroom's take as well. If you could have a pet and the pet could not be a dog or a cat, what animal would you have as a pet? Put your answers, please, in the comment section. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mr. T-Shroom, from down there in Gainesville, Florida. T-Shroom, how are you doing? And what's your answer to the question? Oh, you're wearing a hoodie, too.
I'm wearing an H&M hoodie. Okay. It's their urban, part of their urban fashion line. And my favorite, the question is, would I rather have a cat or a dog? What was the question?
No, if you could have a pet, or if you had to choose a pet that wasn't a dog or a cat, what animal would it be?
You know, I've always been partial to the ferret. I think that the ferret could be a really fun pet to have.
Don't those bite your eyeballs or the lids, like your eyelids? Is that just a thing that a TV says?
That's very specific.
I was watching a TV show that they had a ferret, and the ferret like would give kisses but bite the eyelids. Or maybe it was a movie. Was it a movie? If you guys know the movie I'm talking about, put it in chat. I'm misremembering what the title is. But ferret, I mean, fair enough. I think I would like one of those like I mean, that is a cute animal. A capuchin monkey. Can you look up capuchin monkeys? I feel like that would be a pretty cool little animal to have. What do you think?
A capuchin?
Yeah.
Now, what I'll say about the capuchin monkey is that the capuchin monkey is cute. It is a cute monkey. And, you know, do they stink? Michael M. said they stink. He may have been referring to the ferret, though, just to be fair.
To be fair, most animals stink. So I don't know if that's a fair.
My dogs right now stink. They are some stinky little bubs. But I do have a quote of the day.
Oh, you do? Yeah. What's your quote of the day?
It's kind of in the stylings of kind of this fashion movements that you've been making here. Just a shot. Let's get a better shot of your shirt here.
Oh, just a t-shirt?
Yeah. Give us a flex. Give us a strongman flex. Look at that. That's impressive. Quote of the day here. Fashion should be a form of escapism and not a form of imprisonment. And Tim, I think you're right on with Alexander McQueen's quote here. Alexander McQueen, of course, a famous British fashion designer and courtier.
Who I live up to. I look up to Alexander McQueen every day of the week. Army Piper says that he used to have a ferret named Stony T. That's a cool name for a ferret, if I had to name a ferret. Shout out to Sin City Crypto in chat. Congratulating us on the 10K subscribers. Shout out to Sin City. They also said gold bearded dragon named Bitcoin. Now, that sounds pretty specific. Sounds like they might actually have a gold bearded dragon named Bitcoin. Please confirm or deny that in chat, Sin City. Let's see some of the good answers in here, and then we're going to get in to our market open. Oh, that's a good-looking animal.
It is.
That's a winner right there. I think that's a good-looking animal. Saltwater fish. You can't do anything with a saltwater
fish. That's a very vague category of fish, isn't it?
That's I don't know what you can do with that. A quail, says Gary C. Okay. I don't trust birds, so birds are not going to make the final run in my book. Rabbit, says Blackie Chan. Okay, that's fair. A chameleon, a turtles. Okay.
It's a distinguished looking bird right there. Just very distinguished.
I don't trust them. I don't trust them whatsoever. Well, you guys got some good animals in there. We'll look forward to new questions of the day coming your way very, very soon. T-Shroom, what do you think about us going and getting into the markets and addressing what is going on over here?
Let's do it. Let's get
You
some
ready?
alpha,
All right.
baby.
Let's go to CoinMarketCap. Bitcoin down 2%. Bitcoin's been down a lot here recently in the 24 hours when we're running our stream. So down 2%. Ethereum down there as well. And this is becoming a running joke at the moment. I keep saying when we get here that we're going to need to go look at the Ethereum over Bitcoin chart because Ethereum's always bleeding more than Bitcoin. I think it's been a whole week now, and I have not looked at the chart once. So let's see if that runs on today as well. But we're going to have to go take a look at the Ethereum over Bitcoin chart. BNB barely down 0.5%. Solana taking a nice cool bath. And there might be a reason as to why. We're probably not going to address that on this show. Don't want to get demonetized. Do not want to get in trouble with YouTube. But Solana catching some grief. Most of you probably know what I'm talking about. XRP is down pretty much the same amount as well. Dogecoin and AVAX, the alone top 10 coins staying in the green over the last 24 hours. Toncoin also up 7. Let's take a look at our biggest gainers, biggest losers as a whole. ICP, what about that? The timing of me putting an ICP price prediction video out yesterday and then ICP just takes the internet by storm. I promise you guys I was not that intelligent. I literally just made an ICP video because there were several comments through live chats and in videos saying, Tim, when are you going to do an ICP prediction? So I said, shoot, let's do it. I want to make sure we clarify something because I did get a lot of flack from ICP members about, Tim, you know that ICP is deflationary. Well, it's really hard to tell. It's not deflationary yet like Ethereum is, and it's really hard to tell where the supply would be. But in case you guys are wondering, go check out my price predictions. Let's just say the supply stayed the exact same as it was today, a year and a half from now. My price predictions barely change. So technically speaking, did I leave out a part about it could be deflationary during this period where they're maybe burning as many tokens as they're printing? Yes, I left that out. Will it change my price prediction? Barely, like maybe by a couple of dollars, and I gave like a $50 range. So not too worried about that. The price prediction, in my opinion, stands as still being legitimate. Aptos is up here as well. Floki, another bullish day for Floki. It keeps like flip-flopping. I feel like every single day you guys should just keep flipping if you're longing or shorting Floki because it's always a top mover. The question is it a big gainer or a big loser? Phantom is up here as well. OP is up here just a little bit. Let's take a look at our biggest losers. Bit and Soar. I don't know. Don't use it. Don't trade it. Don't do anything with it. TIA down 6%. Conflux down 5.5%. Injective down 5%. Beam down 5%. Good amount of downers. Here we got Pepe coming in here. Meme coin down almost 5% on the day. Oh, goodness gracious. Keep an eye on Pith. This is one I'm going to watch over the next couple of months. Of course, we talked about this yesterday. We're about 2 months away from a massive unlock on Pith, meaning it's not time yet. And the truth is, I think that we should have some form of a pump between now and then. But there will be a day that we probably are going to take a look at potentially a long-term short on Pith. And when I say long-term, I mean probably like a week or so. Just not like a long-term scalp. Because that 147% of its tokens, like so of the current supply, it will have in a one-day print 147%. That is a massive addition to supply. That is a coin ripe for a short when the time is right. Let's take a look at the markets here, Shroom. Bitcoin down. And, you know, we actually, while we're back above it now, we did not utilize the red line, the former resistance level as support. We discussed that yesterday. It looks like the 4-hour scalp short that we called ended up being a good call. So if anyone took advantage of that, put a 1 in chat if you made some money on the 4-hour short we advised. Let's take a look, though, at what it did do. Let's come here. Let's go to the 4-hour chart. Let's go to our Lux Algo indicators. And sure enough, it did not quite get all the way down here towards 61, 62K, but it did come down and touch the cloud of the smart show concept here on Lux Algo. But we mentioned here on the 1-hour chart, we said keep an eye on the take profit going as low as about 62.5. Sure enough, that's exactly what happened. So if you had entered that short on Bitcoin and look at that, those were the levels we said, hey, conservatively look for somewhere here on 62.5. And sure enough, that's exactly where Bitcoin went. The question now on everyone's brains, though, and we're going to get into the story of the prediction that a crash could be on its way for Bitcoin. But I'm going to keep an eye on some of these smaller time frames for now. We're not looking at what the next couple of weeks look like. We're looking at what the next couple of days look like. Here on, let's start on the 4-hour chart, a little bit larger of a chart. We still have this order block right below us down here, kind of coming back in those same areas where we wicked just a couple of days ago. But we're talking about coming back down closer towards $61,000. Let's see what our oscillators are saying. You guys can see we have not printed a sell order yet, but we did just hit our stop loss, and we're seeing a lot of weakness. And technically speaking, we even had that smart show concept coming down towards 60. Remember 60K. That's going to be significant. As we said right here, our Lux ALGO oscillator, reversal, bearish momentum, and the money flow, not very strong downward movement, but enough that it's negative. And sure enough, you could have entered a short and it would have worked for you. I wouldn't necessarily, I'd wait for a serious fall in money flow before I'd enter a new short on Bitcoin. Not going to be surprised to see some form of a bounce up. You're also seeing the MACD here on the 4-hour chart. We did get that bearish cross. It is falling, and we are not flashing over sold whatsoever. So 4-hour in a little bit of a vulnerable move right here, but definitely showing that we could be moving further to the downside. Wait for some form of a trigger, though. Not going to be surprised to see some form of a bounce. And the reason why I'm not surprised, or the reason I'd be expecting some form of a bounce, would be this 1-hour chart. Now, the money flow is not positive yet, so I'm not necessarily saying that you guys should go look for a long opportunity, but we do have the bullish reversals. We do have the bullish momentum coming up. We do see the money flow, while it's negative right now, is not necessarily overly negative, so it could easily kind of keel up. It's got a bubble in my throat. I'm probably dying.
Tim, here, let me take a sip really quick with you. Investing bros, more like the sipping bros, am I right?
Yeah.
We're having fun.
We're having fun. All right, money flow, though. My point here is it's not crazily bearish, right? So don't worry too much about it. But if we see this move to the upside, that would trigger a small bounce. And guess what we see on the other oscillators? We had majorly flash of being over sold. The MACD is definitely curving. The histograms are getting smaller. That looks like we could be about to start climbing again on our MACD for a bullish cross. We squarely hit our take profit on our sell order, short order right here. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin bounce back up here, set another lower high, come down and meet this smart show concept somewhere 65K, give or take, and then make its room to the downside. Now, we're looking at the charts right here. Let's get some more confirmation from a different form of statistics that would tell us that these price levels we just discussed, maybe a bounce up to 65 and then a fall potentially to 60K or maybe even a little lower. Let's take a look at our liquidations chart here on the 12 hours. And I'm going to have to zoom in here for you just so we can see it a little more clearly. But take a look at where a lot of our liquidations are going. We have some fat liquidations here at 65. We could see this even climb up maybe towards 66. I think 66 is a little high, but you get my point. We do have liquidity that traders could rise the price, have a little bit of a short squeeze, take out these short liquidations, reset the market, and then while we have a fat amount of liquidity here at 62, this liquidity stays pretty consistent down to where 60K. And 60K is where you get a little bit of a break here on the 12-hour. Let's go take a look at the 7-day and see what it's saying here as well, see if it backs up or confirms. Actually, here on the 7-day, we have some heavy liquidity all the way up back towards 70, but a fat stack sitting down here towards 60K. And the question is, do we stop around 60K or do we make a move closer, maybe down here towards this 57, maybe all the way to 55? I think when we're looking at the 7-day, I think we're more looking at a long squeeze, come out, get rid of all of these long liquidations, set some new ones, and then shoot up for a short squeeze back to 70K versus on the 12-hour, I think we're looking at potentially a small bounce to remove some of this liquidity before a deeper fall. But that is what I'm seeing here on the charts. We will do more of them here in just a couple of minutes. We're going to get into some news. We'll get some more charts in the Q&A section. T-Shroom, what are your thoughts? What are you thinking before we jump in here? And then whenever you're ready, we can go into some of those big articles and have our discussion about a potential Bitcoin crash coming on a larger scale.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I think generally, things are moving sideways. One world that we could have been in is a sub 58 world already, right? We could have seen a lot more volatility where Bitcoin got back down into the golden pocket, right? We're not in that world. We're in a crab world. And is a crab world better? I don't know. I mean, there's an argument to be made that JP Morgan's going to make it here in just a second that we should be lower and we have lower prices in the future. It stands to reason that potentially if we had already gone down and wicked into those levels and buyers that were adamantly only going to buy in those levels got what they wanted, then we might be on the way back up and be seeing 65, 67, and maybe even all-time highs by now. But we're in a crab market. There's a little bit of, might use the word constipation, right? As the market kind of cycles through.
Now, let's pause on that for a second.
Yeah.
Why that word? Why should we use the word constipation?
Well, precisely I'm using that word because the market is trying to digest a few different things at the same time, right? One of the biggest things that I'm going to get to more in here in just a second.
I don't think that's the definition of constipation, though, T-Sherm. I don't think constipation is the digestion of more than one thing at a time. Pretty sure it's the inability to remove waste at a certain time.
I appreciate this, and I think lingering on the metaphor was not my intention. But
we are here to bring accuracy, and I just wanted to make sure. Maybe we could see a little bit of a constipation. Price moves sideways, doesn't really rally, can't get rid of the crap. We just go sideways. Constipation,
Right. Well, and I think that's kind of what sideways is, right? In some sense, it's agreement, right? It's the market agreeing on a new price range, saying, well, yeah, the buyers like it down here. They don't like it so much up here, and the sellers like to sell up here. So that's what a range is. But it also can be described as constipation because what an asset should be doing is growing in value relative to fiat currencies. So right now, we're just seeing a lull, right? A lull might be a little bit more of an approachable term, a little bit more of a better, more accurate term than congestion or even constipation. But yeah, you asked me my thoughts.
Problem with passing stool. It's the definition.
I appreciate that, Tim.
I love
asked
it,
me my thoughts.
Let's keep talking about it. We're in the constipation bull market.
And I delivered my thoughts.
There we
go. And here we are. It's all in a day's work. We're having fun here. Another thing that, yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of stories to get into.
Let's get
that's
into
that's kind of where my mind's at. Obviously, I may be
everyone
having
in chat.
some.
I mean, we're seeing some broccoli in chat. Michael M now has to poop, so it was probably a good transition time to change from this topic.
I love it. Well, let's get into our first headline here. JP Morgan says Bitcoin is overbought, is in overbought territory. They say that also may have further to fall in the coming weeks, right? And of course, they have an incentive over at JP Morgan for the price to fall so that they can scoop up more, right? They also have an incentive, so it kind of goes along with what they've been saying, not doing, because they've been buying Bitcoin. They obviously see value in it, or at least a trade. But what they've been saying is Bitcoin bad, crypto bad, right? Stay away from it.
Yeah.
Now, what they're saying is starting to align with that as well. So let's keep reading here. JP Morgan notes that the pace of inflows into spot Bitcoin ETF has slowed considerably in recent days, with significant outflows recorded since the price hit a record. Is that true? We can confirm now. We can look here at Dune.com. You can see the inflows broken down by bank or by issuer here, Wisdom Tree, all the way through to Grayscale. So Grayscale's outflows have picked up. You can see that represented here in the purple histograms pointing downward, okay? And then you can also see it summarized here in just generally, this is the overall summation, right? So back here, March 13th, right, mid-March, jubilation, euphoria was in the market. It was getting crazy. We had a all-time high for the Bitcoin price and for inflows, so high levels. Now, not so much, right? We're actually seeing record outflows. If you look at it, the last time we had outflows, 3 histograms in a row, was back here in January 24th, towards the beginning of these ETFs' existences.
And guess what that was? That has been the time period during the largest pullback in this bull run. Right. We pulled back 20%. So again, we pulled at this point 17%, but the market's not necessarily showing that the bounce is ready just yet. So I think it's good to remember, like the last time you saw this happen, it's been the biggest pullback in this bull market so far.
Yep. So don't make a mistake here. JP Morgan is telling the truth, right? So that's why I wanted to show you guys. They're telling the truth, but what are they doing with the truth? That's the question. The bank also questions how beneficial the upcoming halving event will be to the price of Bitcoin in the near term, something that there's organic speculation on as well. And then there's a quotation from them as well. As we approach the halving event, this profit taking is more likely to continue, particularly against positioning backdrop that still looks overbought despite the past week's corrections, concludes JP Morgan's research note. And just, I don't know if they meant to put this in there, but baystreet.ca, they added this note here that JP Morgan's stock had risen 16% in 2024, while Bitcoin had risen 46%. So even with the pullback. So it's a little bit of a juxtaposition there, we might say. Now, of course, the assets under management over it, well, actually, no. Probably it's smaller than Bitcoin's overall market cap. But anyway, Tim, what are your thoughts here? Do you think that JP Morgan is starting to, starting to see Bitcoin as like a kind of just a neutral asset to start reporting on clearly? Or do you think they have some motivation with trying to call that this is overbought?
Well, let's start. Before I do any JP Morgan bashing, because that would be a part of my take. And if it wasn't, I would be disappointed in myself. Let's start by just addressing the statements they're making.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they're right. Bitcoin is overbought at the moment. And in two different ways, and I'll break this down. I actually do think it is overbought, probably in the way they're really meaning for this to be. I think it is time for a cool off. Am I happy? Was I excited to see a brand new all-time high before the halving? Yeah, that was really cool. My portfolio looked very beautiful. Getting to see Bitcoin and Solana, and even Cardano had a moment there. We thought it was going to go towards $1 there. Chainlink, my portfolio still looks good, better than when I bought it, but wish I could do better there. AVAX having run a lot of coins that I had in my portfolio, just outdoing my wildest expectations. And that's one of the reasons why we tell you guys, do not, during the middle of a bull market, don't be taking profits of your large portfolio, because sometimes you can get a little too far surprised, right? But it doesn't stop me from saying I don't think Bitcoin really should have hit a new all-time high before the halving. I think we can all agree the ETF hype is what drove it, and it probably was a little too overextended. And what happens when a coin's too overextended? It has to pull back a little bit. It has to come back down to reality. That's my first comment that I'll say about being overbought. The second one, that's what I don't care about, is guess what, JP Morgan? It's a bull market. It's going to be overbought. I want you to take a look at the tools on technical analysis at what happens in bull markets. Let's look at what ALGO does. And we'll look at ALGO. I don't need this one, though. I don't need to see order blocks. And I want to look at RSI as well. But take a look, for example, anytime the point of this indicator is when you get into the red reversal, you're overbought, right? But during a bull market, look at how we lived in this red wave. Let's go back here when we touched it in October 2020. Yes, that wasn't the bottom, but this is when October of 2020 is when things really started getting nuts. It's when the bull market started taking off and doing some crazy things. We lived in the red from October of 2020 all the way into November, and then slightly cooled off to the smart show concept, and then lived again in the red here from December of 2020 all the way to above it in January. Now, we're overextended. We took ourselves a nice 35% pullback. We cooled off back to where? Right around the smart shell concept. Technically went a little bit below it. But then we got back up and lived in the red once again. We did not touch green, meaning we were not oversold on the daily chart from March of 2020 all the way until the first time we touched the green here in May of 2021. So it took more than a year. Bitcoin lived for an entire year as being overbought in a bull market. That is what happens. Let's take a look at what the RSI was saying. And for this one, I actually want to go over to the weekly chart. We'll see a little bit different mode here because, we're flashing oversold on the weekly chart. But take a look here. I'll actually look at two different bull markets. Look at the RSI after it crosses 50 here in October of 2015. Did not go back and even touch the 50. There's times where it got close, but we didn't even see a 50 on the RSI until all the way into the actual bear market in January of 2018. And we, in fact, lived a large period of that bull market above the 70 on the RSI. Same thing, you move over here to the 2020 bull market. We crossed the 50 here, April of 2020. And then revisit it. Now, this time, the bull market wasn't quite over, but of course, because of all the FUD, we crossed below the 50 May of 2021. A lot of people thought maybe it would be over. But my point here is we lived for years, plural, in overbought territory during a bull market. And wouldn't you believe it? During bear markets, guys, you live for years being oversold. Like if you buy every time you hear, oh, this asset's oversold, or you sell every time you hear, oh, this asset's overbought, and you're looking at these larger time frames, I'm not saying you're not making a good purchase, but you better be patient because you're going to be there for a while. The minute you go into overbought does not mean you should be worried. And when it comes to this most recent time, we entered overbought territory, I would say sometime here in October, right? And it's been, what would that be, like 6 months? All right, that's fine. But according to past bear markets, we should probably have another 18 months of being overbought. So be prepared. You can go off my screen now. Be prepared for articles from the likes of JP Morgan to be saying Bitcoin is overbought for another year and a half. Why? That's historically what Bitcoin does. That's what assets do. During bull markets, they live in overbought categories. During bear markets, they live in oversold categories. I am not that too concerned about what JP Morgan is saying. And again, I agree with the fact that we are, and I also agree with the fact that we probably should be pulling back a little bit further than we are now. 55, 57, I think is given's the wrong word, but just like that's just probably going to happen. That's just would be healthy for Bitcoin. Then you start talking about maybe 48. 48 to me would be awesome. I'd love to buy it. It still would not be that bearish of a pullback. I still wouldn't call that a Bitcoin crash, but it could go down that far and still be overbought in Bitcoin's price. If we're waiting for Bitcoin to become not overbought or be oversold, you're going to be waiting a very, very long time if history repeats itself.
Yeah, we just went through a long period, a bear market. That was the time to stock up. That was the oversold. That is probably not going to be seen too much more, as Tim said, on the daily or weekly time frame, right? So I've got another one here. BlackRock prioritizes Bitcoin in its crypto expansion efforts, while Ethereum and others take the back seat. Really, this is a lead into something that I think is a lot more important, but we'll kind of entertain this article to some extent. BlackRock sees less demand for Ethereum during a casual conversation at the Bitcoin Investor Day hosted by Reflexivity Research Robert Mitchnick, a name that we're seeing more and more coming across the ticker, who leads digital assets at BlackRock, talked about how the company deals with Bitcoin, other cryptocurrencies, and what they see coming from the crypto world. His quotation here: "For our clients, Bitcoin is overwhelmingly the number one priority, and then a little bit Ethereum and very little of anything else." And then the article goes on talking about Bitcoin's future in the financial world. Mitchnick was positive about the integration of classic finance and innovative tech, saying, "Eventually, we expect there will be a convergence where the best of the old system, TradFi, and the new technology will become fused into a new infrastructure system in finance." Now, I would like to know what Mitchnick's view of the best of classic finance is, but overall, this is a very rosy picture of what the future could be. Now, a little bit of context here on Mitchnick. I've mentioned this before a couple times now. He is the one, Robert Mitchnick, is the one who kind of flipped BlackRock pro crypto. Before Mitchnick was hired,
that was Mitchnick,
right? Yeah, BlackRock was kind of all over the place when it came to Bitcoin and crypto, and they had some conflicting but overall bearish perspectives on crypto. But now, thanks to this guy right here, Robert Mitchnick, who got his start, I believe, over at Ripple Labs, he kind of got hired over there and spread the good word.
Can you go back to Robert Mitchnick real quick? And I mean no offense to Robert Mitchnick by this comment. Does he not look like the beginning stages, early onset Gary Gensler going on here?
Tim, for the point I'm trying to make, that is the most counterproductive thing you could have said.
I know, no offense to him whatsoever, but I shoot straight. I call it like I see it. Does that not look like early onset Gary Gensler? Chat, am I wrong? Am I wrong, chat? Does that not look like a young Gary?
I don't know.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're seeing maybe what you want to see, Tim. And
I don't want to see it. I don't want to wish that upon Robert. He seems like a perfectly wonderful guy.
Here's another shot of Robert.
That's better.
Doesn't look very Gary Gensler-esque.
That is way better. I will agree. Robert, thank you for side profiles, because that dead on.
It's rough.
It's rough.
So let's drill in a little bit more on this, the last part of the sentence, and very little of anything else. It's mostly Bitcoin. That's where we are, folks. Even though we have reached an all-time high before the halving, which is non-classical, which is a deviation from historical norms, we have not deviated from the path to alt season, right? We are still, and I reported this on the 9 a.m. stream a little while ago, but you have Bitcoin, right, season, you have Ethereum season, then you have large cap season, and then you have altcoin season. Another deviation you've all noticed is memes. The meme season is kind of everywhere. It's teleported to every part of every season, and that's okay, right? That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. It kind of runs adjacent to this overall season calendar, if you will. But it makes sense that there's lots of flows of money into Bitcoin causing price surges. We've definitely seen that, right? We've seen money flow into Ethereum, but struggling to keep up with Bitcoin. Tim, would you agree that that's kind of been the characterization?
Yeah, I mean, right now, for sure.
Right? Because you'll know,
sure.
I mean, the big data point on that is that Ethereum has not yet hit all-time high versus Bitcoin has and made 2 more all-time highs. Ethereum, and then I think this is where we are now. If this was a calendar, I think this is kind of the current day. Ethereum goes back and forth with Bitcoin and starts to outperform it. So going back and forth with Bitcoin day to day is something we have been seeing, but starts to outperform it, no, not so much. So we're somewhere in this sentence, right? So what does that mean? That means that Mitchnick's comments here are accurate, and he's been through multiple bull and bear markets, right? So what he's hearing from his clients is representative of this cycle. That's really all the point that I'm trying to make. And how does this apply to your crypto portfolio? Well, it applies is don't expect much from your lower cap coins, right? The Chainlinks and the Cardanos and even the XRPs, these guys are not till phase 3 that they're going to start to see parabolic moves. And you could kind of make the argument that although Bitcoin has done really well and reached an all-time high before the halving, it has not yet reached its parabolic move. So we're not even really past phase 1, right? You'll notice that there's an overlap here. There's an overlap between the phases. We're still in that overlap period.
And I want to make sure it's clear here. We're not saying that no altcoin can go nuts. Like, for example, Solana. And I said this before. I'm big on Solana. I've not sold my Solana yet because I still believe we're shooting up towards 1,000. Solana has had a massive run that's going to diminish how much of its run it's going to have during the altcoin season, right? It's not going to be the biggest gainer during the altcoin season, in my personal opinion. But the masses of altcoins, we're still waiting for the big plays. That's where you are seeing the likes of like Cardano, and let's throw XRP in there. Let's throw Matic in there. There's been these little ones. There's AI tokens have really popped off. Ethereum layer 2s with a lot of updates to Ethereum have popped off recently, but nothing like what they're going to do. There's a lot of these coins that still have potentially up to 20x's left in them. Not from the bottom of the bear market to the top. I'm talking about buying today, you might still catch a 20x on some of these altcoins because it's not altcoin season just yet. Are you going to catch a 20x on Solana? Probably not. Now, when it comes to BlackRock, going back to that article, because that was the first thing we talked about here. Sure. Yes. What we're talking about in this article is the ETFs, and they're talking about servicing their customers. I see this, in case anyone's wondering, as them saying we're going to keep it about the main thing, the Bitcoin ETF. They're still going to be fighting for an Ethereum ETF. That was their second priority. That's what their customers want. But he said after that, there's really not any other demand. Does that mean we couldn't see a third one? I mean, I've heard Solana thrown around. I've heard XRP thrown around. We could, but it does not sound like that's even on BlackRock's radar. However, there are coins and there's things that BlackRock is working on and doing from their company side, not necessarily just for their investors, but for what they want to see and build their wealth. Keep an eye on Chainlink. Chainlink is absolutely a coin that will benefit from BlackRock being more invested in the blockchain space. With everything CCIP is doing with Chainlink, it's funny that Chainlink's not popping off now, but I really hope people are not looking at a sleepy Chainlink. I'm not looking at Chainlink, by the way. I'm just talking about it. I hope
so you're telling people to look at Chainlink, but you're not, is what you're saying.
You know what, Tishum? Just because of that, we're going to have to look at Chainlink now as I make my point. Don't look at Chainlink right now being sleepy, not having done much recently. This is the weekly chart right here, and think, oh, yeah, Chainlink sucks. Like, Chainlink's not going to do anything. It's not time for Chainlink to do anything. All of this has been just a nice little startup to show you what we're potentially capable of doing. The altcoin season has not started. Do not be spoiled by this chart. Do not think that every coin needs to be Solana to be a legitimate coin in this bull market. That's not the criteria. Most altcoins are still looking like this, like Cardano, AVAX, Chainlink. Are there some good runs right there? I don't know why Chainlink keeps doing that. I don't know what's going on with my Chainlink chart on the weekly chart. There's still bullish momentum here, but it is nothing compared to what it will be. Again, Chainlink, a coin that if it does what I believe it can do, we're not talking about just back up to all-time high around $54. We're talking about potentially up to $700 on Chainlink. That means there's a lot of guacamole left. 18. What would that be if we hit my price prediction? Let's just even play this out. 700. I said 700. Let's say you bought today at the time of us making this video, and you took profit at 700. We'll go 704 just to be nice with it. You're still looking at a 39x. So even if I am completely wrong and 700 is way too high and we only make it to 350, 350 would still give you a 17x, pushing closer to, or sorry, I went to 300. 350, we're pushing a 20x, right? My point here is there is still a lot of gains left in the altcoin space. They have not moved because, as T-Shroom's showing you, the way money flows in these cycles, this is not the time for altcoins to get the masses what they're going to get. There are a couple outliers. There's a couple difference makers. There's a couple things sticking out. Don't let that tell you that, oh, this must be altcoin season right now. The masses of the altcoins have not made their big moves.
Yeah, and Tim points out that Solana has been one of the top outperformers, and it has been, right? But it has not yet even reached its all-time high, right?
Yeah.
Now, one that comes to mind that is Optimism, but Optimism had not ICO'd in the last bull market, so that's an anomaly, right? And it's almost honestly kind of an exception to the rule. So overall, here, guys, we'll be 100% covering this phase. I at least think that this is a true and accurate representation of the cycles. Does it follow it 1-to-1? No, but that's why there's no prices on here. There's no levels. This is words, natural language, right? So we'll be using that. Now, we had a question here, and Tim, I think we should try to take a whack at this. Some might say a whack. But this question was literally asked word for word twice. Michael M. jumped in phase 3 time prediction, and then Izkabander asked phase 3 time prediction. So I'm not sure if that's the same person asking those questions. But
I think we should talk about a phase 3 time prediction.
I think we should.
Yeah. What do you think? I want to get your brain to focus on this question first. What's your timeline prediction there?
A phase 3. I mean, just kind of shooting in the dark. A phase 3 time prediction. We're well outside, the bull run from the hat. Let me go to a trusty chart for this one. Now, there's been a lot of speculation that the stock to flow model is bad to look at now, especially this one. But I'm going to just use it as kind of a model. So, historically, you have the halving, and then you have dumpskis, right? You have craziness going on, but then generally you start to get into an undeniable uptrend that has pullbacks, right? But an undeniable uptrend again here in the 2018 run up, and then again here in the 2021 run up, right? Right now we're still pre-halving. We've gotten up above the stock to flow model, right? I think what we're gonna see is probably around So it peaked out here in, what was it? So
2017?
It would have been
at the end of 2017.
Just the beginning of the second year after the halving. So all of 2017, you have jumping for joy, and then 2018, you get the correction. You get the beginning of the bear market, arguably. Same, I would imagine same thing here about, a year into it, you start to get that correction. So the model does pretty well. Here it was way too early. Here it was right on time, kind of crazy. And then here, I'm going to just count that as illusory data. But so right around May 23rd of 2025, so spring of 2025 is when this stock to flow model is scheduling out where Bitcoin would probably start to top out. But it could keep running. See, back here, it came back and put in a new all-time high, I believe, in the last run, all the way as late as November 2021. So all of this means that basically when phase 3, probably after spring of 2025. What do you think about that analysis, Tim?
I disagree.
Yeah, well, go for it. Present your
pull back up. Pull out. I don't know if that thing's no. Pull up the phases.
Okay.
Does it on that phase? Because I believe in phases, but let's not act like the phases cover 4, 5, 6 months. A lot of these phases are like a month at a time. Bitcoin gets the party start. Let's go look at the chart here. I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. Let me pull down some.
While you're doing that, I disagree. I think that. I mean, which phase do you think happens in a month?
I'll explain.
Okay.
Where the phase happens.
Excellent.
Let's be clear here. Altcoin season does not mean Bitcoin is going down, right? During altcoin season, Bitcoin is still climbing. What we're talking about is at what season is Bitcoin dominance going up?
Mm-hmm.
Then when does Bitcoin dominance start to fall? And then when does Bitcoin dominance start to plummet, right? But let's look at the Bitcoin chart, for example. All right, so we had COVID back in here. We get to the halving. We start to move bullishly. We get back up to similar levels to where we were, but it's kind of boring price action for a while right here. When does the party start with Bitcoin in 2020? We're talking about October. October takes off. And I remember living through this. I remember going and the people I knew that were heavily into crypto just always say, oh, Bitcoin's about to correct. It has to correct. It's so overextended. Whereas this is so crazy. 2x in a week? How does Bitcoin even do it? Like, they were freaking out. It was Bitcoin season, right? When did Ethereum decide it's time to join the party? Because it wasn't quite the same time period. It kind of stayed boring. It started November, roughly a month or so behind. The explosiveness on Ethereum, it lagged behind, kind of stayed with Bitcoin a little bit. It was bullish, but did not have the same explosiveness in October that Bitcoin did. So November, it's Ethereum's turn to party. The party takes off. Then you take a look at potentially, and I was going to take a look at Cardano, but let's take a look at, for example, Total 3. Total 3, again, bullish chart. It did move bullishly, but when did the explosiveness start? December. December is when Total 3, the altcoin season, just got parabolic. And to show you kind of even more what I'm talking about here, let's go take a look. Remember, I'm talking about October of 2020, and then November, and then December and January is where altcoins really went nuts, right? Let's take a look at Bitcoin dominance during this period. October, right here, right? So we bottom out in September. October, Bitcoin dominance is climbing. When does it take a little bit of a dip? November. What happens in November? Ethereum starts to take off. Ethereum being the number 2 coin, that's going to have a big effect on the dominance of Bitcoin. But then you have into here. So I told you altcoin season kind of started here, but Bitcoin actually kind of takes back a little bit more momentum here in December. But altcoin season hits. Remember, I said December, January. January hits. End of December happens. January hits. Bitcoin doesn't just correct in its dominance. It starts to plummet. And it plummets all the way down until May. It finally catches its breath in May of 2021. Now, does that mean Bitcoin was bearish between the months January to May? Not one bit. January to May, we still had upward momentum. Was there a correction in this period? Yes, there was. There was a 30% correction. But we still had a nice little, let's see, what was this pump? 121% pump on Bitcoin during a period where the dominance is absolutely free falling. What is that talking about? That's talking about it was altcoin season. Everything started going bullish in October. If I look at Ethereum and I go back to October, bullish. If I look at Cardano and I go to October, bullish, right? We were going up. But the question is, which ones were leading the markets? And ultimately, you had about a month or so where it was Bitcoin. You had a month and some change of Ethereum. And then we got into the bull market and we had actually multiple months of a big altcoin season. It wasn't like we had 4 months of Bitcoin, 4 months of Ethereum, and then 4 months of altcoins. It was like Bitcoin gets the train rolling. All right, it's time. A month later, Ethereum's time to run. All right, a month later, our altcoins, you're released. Go nuts with it. And of course, you're looking at this Cardano chart. Let me just show you guys like what I'm talking about here. Cardano from October to November, boom, 50, 50 something percent, right? And then you go from November. Let's go to, I gotta get rid of that thing because it's in the way and it looks ugly. And I can't see where I'm going with this. From November until December, let's go look here. Right here, 87%. These are great pumps. But then January hits. January is when Cardano took off. And in just 1 month, give or take, to February, 1,000%. You keep carrying it over into May, 1,800%. Had a little bit of cool off, just like Bitcoin did during that summer. But you get my point here. They rally, and I'm saying everything's going to rally. But the question is, when do the altcoins take off? My prediction is roughly 2 to 3 months after Bitcoin resumes its massive bull run. So my prediction timeline, that's what I had to kind of explain to kind of get to us to where I'm going. I still think we're cooling off. I think this is a potential we cool off into the halving time period. I think there's maybe potentially a month or two of boring kind of accumulation. Let's get our bearings about us. So let's talk about the Bitcoin market, bull market starting/restarting because it's already been explosive. Let's go with June. June, Bitcoin begins to go on a tear. So let's go late July, early August, Ethereum begins to go on a tear. So this time I'm looking at September, October as my season for those altcoins to go off like they did back in January of 2021.
September, October of 2024.
24.
Yeah, well, one thing we should have probably done before we answered that question was read the descriptions here. So after Ethereum has but Tim, your analysis there was really, really good. And I would immediately amend my prediction to say it would not have to start when Bitcoin tops, right? Which I switched to a different stock to flow model here, but Bitcoin kind of, according to the stock to flow model, which is somewhat accurate, would be stopping here in 7/28. So late July of 2025 is when Bitcoin is kind of scheduled to peak. Now this could be off by a whole year or 6 months or at least 3 months, right? But generally, altcoin season you could kind of suspect could start around here, right? Where Tim was just saying, September. But let's read the descriptions here. So after Ethereum is outpacing Bitcoin and we hear talks of the flippening, right? Have you heard anybody saying Ethereum's going to flip Bitcoin? No. That's the opposite of what we just heard from one of the biggest influencers in crypto right now, Robert Mitchnick, right? Not influencers to you, influencers to bankers.
We heard way more about Ethereum flipping Bitcoin during the bear market than we did. I don't know if I agree with that part of the definition of Ethereum cycle because I don't know how heavily we talked about Ethereum flipping Bitcoin at all during the bull market.
You don't think there was talk of Ethereum flipping Bitcoin during that Bitcoin dominance plummet that you just showed?
It was way more prevalent during late 2021, the bear market's almost over, or the bull market's almost over. And then throughout 2022, as we're scaling down, but we're saying, oh, is this an extended cycle? Is this just a small pullback and we're going to rally again? That's when Ethereum flipping really got hot. First of all, there's always somebody saying that everything's going to flip. There's people out there right now saying
XRP is going to flip.
The coin ranked number 475 is going to be the number one ranked coin here in the bull market. Like you always have those talks. But I do not remember, correct me if I'm wrong, people in chat, but I don't remember a time period during late 2020, early 2021, where the massive conversation is Ethereum going to flip Bitcoin? That talk started later on in the bull market. Shout out to Tom Crown in chat. 10,000 subscriber hype. How about 100,000 subscribers for Tom Crown? Tom, we're coming for you. We're coming for you. But congratulations, you have done a phenomenal job. Speaking of back, those times, I remember first hearing about Tom Crown back in those 2021, early 2021 bull markets. Of course, working with Crypto Jeb, it's like, all right, who are the other technical analysts out there? Of course, you got to talk about Tom Crown. So been following your work for a long time, man. Congratulations. When a million, though. When a million. Give us a date.
Yeah. So the other description here would be money is starting to trickle into large caps where we see large buy-ups happening, right? We definitely are not seeing that quite yet. And then the large cap phase 3 proper is characterized by Ethereum has been outperforming Bitcoin and large caps are going parabolic, right? That is just not what we're seeing yet. So Tim, I think I'm just gonna second your prediction of September of 2024, but really kind of elongate it out to the fall of 2024 through early to mid spring of 25. Right, and that would be just because give a little bit of credence to the stock to flow model, although it has come under question. But that's a subject for another time. Yeah, so let's keep moving here, Tim. Unless you had any parting thoughts.
No,
well, actually, there was a super chat to.
Yes, there was.
That kind of keeps us in the realm of this convo. Super chat from Overcome 70 times 7 said, thoughts on most coins smashing through 2021 highs. My thoughts: it's going to happen.
Yeah. If the coin was mature in 2021, yes. If the coin was not mature, maybe not. And one of the ones I'll put a tag on, for example, a coin that I just made a video about yesterday. I am bullish on it. Some people are going to argue with me. I'm just looking at what the chart says. I guess we can take a look at what coin market cap says. Go to my screen here real quick. ICP. I made a video yesterday that I gave you from where we currently are, still an 8 to 10x up here, somewhere between $90 to 143. You can kind of round that to like 100 to 150, right? I think it'd be bullish. That was my predictions based off of a coin ranking of somewhere between 20 and 15. There's people believing it's going to crack the top 10. If that's the case, let's talk about potentially pushing this up to 200. But what I'm looking at here, this is the Binance chart. It opened up somewhere around 3,000. What does coin market cap say? I want to make sure I say this correctly before I make this point. But my point is, I think best case scenario ICP, we're talking about 200, 250. Let's go 250. I'll go 250 with you, right? ICP back here, way back here, I see, what is that, 428? That's a lot. That's a very high price for coin. Why was it so high? Because there really was not that many. There wasn't a lot of supply, right? It was created with very few supply. So the cost per token, they were able to make it $428 at launch. It plummeted because they started printing tokens. The market cap is climbing, but the number of coins is just ridiculous. But this is a coin that I do not think ICP is going to set a new high. Whether we call that high 3,000, I don't know why it's way up there. Whether we call the high 400 and what we saw on CoinMarketCap, I don't think ICP is going to break new highs. Why? Because it was created in the bull market. Like, this didn't get to live through the 2021 bull market. It was made up there, and it goes a lot further. That's an example of one that will not. But any coin that I think had maturity during 2021, meaning it at least existed in 2019 and got to feel the full effects of the bullishness of 2020 and 2021, yes, those tokens I do believe should hit new all-time highs. Yeah,
I like it.
I would shout. I want to. I mean, anyone who brings me a coin, I'd have to take it one by one. But I'm trying to think of any coin I would think that wouldn't. It's sad to say because Tom Crown's here. Maybe Litecoin. Maybe Litecoin doesn't hit an all-time high, and Tom Crown, I know, loves Litecoin.
Tom, don't unlike the video. Don't unlike.
I haven't looked at Litecoin in a while. Let me look at where it's currently sitting.
On the other side of the factoid, we could go coin by coin in the top 20. I think that could be interesting because there's some on here that I wonder.
I'll tell you what, Litecoin could do it because we only need like a 5x to kind of match the all-time highs.
I think Litecoin definitely will.
I think it could.
There's a lot of what's funny is there's a lot of Bitcoin maxis who see Litecoin as their guilty indulgence. They're like, "Ooh, I'll dabble in the altcoins and go get some Litecoin or Bitcoin Cash."
I'll tell you, if Tom is still here, Tom, come on our channel. I'll reach out to you on Twitter. Come on our channel and explain to me why. I will admit I'm not a fan of Litecoin, but I've not done probably as much research on it as others have, and maybe you have done a lot more. Come on our channel and tell us why Litecoin is going 5x is just the beginning stop for Litecoin, and we're talking more about like 300x. I would love to hear an argument for that.
We'll have a Litecoin stream.
Yeah,
not a light stream. It'll be a heavy stream, but it'll be a Litecoin stream. Yeah.
Well, T-Stream, there's something we definitely need to do. It is 3:54. We have, we'll have some Q&A here in just a second. But if we go too much further without the factoid of the day, I think people will tune out just because of that in rebellion.
They will
never want to watch ever again because some people only watch for the factoid of the day.
True. It's just a bunch of trivia junkies out there.
Yes.
Well, the factoid of the day today is brought to you by iTrust Capital. You've seen them above my head all day. And today I wanted to tell you guys a little bit about their pricing. So there's actually no monthly fees for iTrust Capital, and they only have a 1% cryptocurrency transaction fee. So is it cheap to use your Roth IRA with iTrust Capital? It's absolutely very cheap. It's not going to have any kind of hidden fees or anything like that. Tim, I've got a question for you. In 2021, which country produced nearly 37% of the world's strawberries?
Wow.
Was it Brazil, Canada, Scotland, or China? The breadth and width of the knowledge of the Factoid Elf has no end. Something we're learning here.
This is a good question. And I have no idea. And I'll tell you, fun fact, while I'm thinking of my answer / AKA waiting for Gia S to answer so I can get the answer correct. Did you know, like, I grew up, of course, in Brandon, Florida, about 30 minutes. We went to church in Plant City. Plant City is the winter strawberry capital of the world, meaning the most strawberries during wintertime are grown in Plant City, Florida. I think there's another part of the year. I think California is big in the summer, I think.
Okay.
As far as a country that produced 37% of strawberries, I don't stay up to date on my strawberry trivia. So, and I don't think Gia S is in chat. So
and that is coming back to bite you in the butt here today.
Yeah, can you go back to the chat? Let me look at these options again. I saw Brazil and Canada for sure. What was my other options? Scotland. All right. If it's Scotland, and I've been in trouble because sometimes when I rule one out very quickly like this, it ends up being the right answer. But I do not believe Scotland is the one growing strawberries.
Okay.
Canada, I don't think so either, because again, the two places I referenced that are great for growing strawberries, Florida and California, you got a lot of sun, you got some good earth. I don't think that Scotland and Canada have that type of resource. I think it's down between China and Brazil. And since everything's made in China, let's go China. I don't know. Let's go China.
Going China. All right. Well, that last bit of logic landed you a right answer on the official strawberry Wikipedia
I didn't even
page.
Use GS for this one. I'm proud of myself.
Look at there's a secret lab chair. There's a proud Tim. He's proud of getting it right.
I also dropped my pen. So
on the official strawberry.org website for Wikipedia, which I know you guys camp out on this website as much as I do. The top strawberry producers in 2021, China took the cake. Look at that. In millions of tons. Can you imagine just taking a nosedive into 3 million tons of strawberries? Well, that's what the Chinese do before they ship it over to America, and it winds up in your grocery store.
Now, again, here in the South, a lot of times our strawberries are from Florida, especially right now.
Especially Brandon, Florida. We're
getting our Shout out to Green Power Science says, "Go Eagles, Brandon, Florida." Yeah, Brandon.
That's right.
That high school at one point in high school wrestling hadn't lost a match. They had like the greatest high school wrestling coach of all time. I'm sure he's retired by now because this is when I was in high school. He hadn't lost a match in like 20-something years.
Tim.
We're fun facting it up here, T-Shroom.
We are.
You want to? Are there any wrestling fans out there? You probably heard of Brandon High School in Brandon, Florida. 'Tis where I'm from, and
that's your high school.
That's the school. The Eagles, go Eagles. I didn't go to school there. No, I was homeschooled, of course.
So your high school mascot was the Eagle?
Mine was a hawk because again, I didn't go to Brandon High School. I just
a hawk. Well, then how did you have
by the way, there's like 7 high schools in Brandon area. I didn't go to high school. I was homeschooled, but I wasn't even zoned for Brandon. I was zoned for Riverview. Oh, Green Power Science says I wrestled for 3 years. Kozart. Yep, his name is Kozart.
Oh my gosh.
He was a beast. He was a beast. He was a beast.
I can't. My mind cannot comprehend this.
Well, that's because you're not a wrestling fan, teacher. You wouldn't appreciate the fine art.
Yeah. They have a great basketball floor. It's a good polish, good finish there. Looks like the Eagle might have some support issues there. All right.
Maybe.
That is the factoid of the day, brought to you by
learning more about
Capital.
Tim's hometown.
That's
Tim's
right.
hometown is part of the factoid of the day.
Yeah, Tim. Why don't we wrap up with another thought from your childhood, your high school childhood? When you were homeschooled, do you feel like you missed out on the social potential of what you could have had going to a high school?
No. Brandon is home to like the large, if not the largest, one of the largest homeschool groups in the world. I was very surprised when I heard that homeschoolers were considered unsocialized because I hung out with friends every single day. We had a homeschool we had like 500 homeschool families. We had our own sports teams.
What?
We compete against private schools.
At what point does something not become
co-ops.
a homeschool when there's 500 of them?
I did school at home, and just every now and then I went to we would meet at some church, and we'd, there's this one mom who had degrees in every form of science. So high school science, she taught all the science.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds like a fun mom.
Yeah, she was cool. I wish I would have played public school football. A lot of coaches wanted me to, but my mom was one of the moms who said, I don't want my poor little Timmy getting corrupted by those public schoolers.
Yeah.
And I missed out on a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows? Maybe
This
we
could
should
have been
thank.
you.
Maybe we should thank Mama Warren, because if Tim had gone to public school and played football, Tim would be in the NFL right now. I'm approaching 30 years old, in my prime. I would be, who would I be playing? I don't know who I'd be playing for, because that's just too far out of the element. I'd be playing the NFL right now. You guys wouldn't know me. So maybe Mama Warren made a good call, because she knew someday investing bros.
That's right.
Needs to happen.
Well, why don't you make a good call right now and subscribe to the channel here? You're having fun. You got some alpha today. In summary, continue to DCA Bitcoin above all, and have your eye out for some excellent large cap crypto altcoins. Chainlink definitely comes to mind. Cardano definitely comes to mind. Matic, still very much underbought in my opinion. What was one we were talking about earlier last week? Polkadot. Polkadot was one that we had pretty much a whole show around. Yeah. That's another underbought big crypto.
That.
So, be tuning in. We'll definitely be we'll be checking back in with these cycles and see if we're starting to fit into these categories. Let us know in the comments. Do you think this cycle's broken? Do you think that the stock to flow is relevant anymore? Do you think it matters? What do you think about the power law charts? Let us know. What do you think is the best guide for predicting these crypto markets? Is it the price of Bitcoin? Is it the price of strawberries, and who's producing them? Let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comments.
Let's go in here. Someone said, why is Link pumping? Let's pump the brakes on the word pumping. It is not pumping. It's moving to the upside. But until we see higher highs, let's not necessarily talk about pumping just yet. It is back up here. One of the reasons why it's pumping, and I told you guys, this is the maturity of Chainlink. It's set up some very strong levels of support between 1757 and down here towards 1670. Now, we wicked a little bit below there, but as you can see on the 4-hour chart, not a single candle body close below that zone. By the way, this little box right here has been on my chart for a very, very long time, all the way since we were touching it back here. I guess it's probably been this zone since December, right? Former resistance zone. Now we're using as support. Can we go a little bit lower? Could we possibly see Chainlink fall back down towards 1350? We could, but why is it pumping? Why is it going up right now? Because it's sitting in a very strong support level. And by the way, it's not just Chainlink. I think I was looking at Bitcoin's pumping right now. It went back up to 64 temporarily. Now it's back down to 63.8. Not as much as Chainlink, obviously. Not as good of a white candle right there as Chainlink. But why do I have a sea of blue on here? Were we looking? I guess I don't remember what we were looking at. But Chainlink looking good. Again, a coin I'm still extremely bullish on. Let's take a look what its levels are saying here. Money flow looks to be flowing positive with a green support band on 4-hour, but it's more sideways and boring. Don't look at that as a trigger for a long position necessarily. Let's see what Lux is saying here as well. Has a take profit in an order block up here towards 1946. That's the high we had here back on the 17th. So do we go that high? I don't know. We also have a red smart trail kind of blocking us around $19. Let's see what the hourly chart's saying the rest of the day. Just bounced off of the smart trail concept here on the hourly. We've got a nice order block sitting right here at 18.5. So as a whole, I mean, I can see getting somewhere back to like 18.5 to 19, but probably not going to go too much higher than this. It's still going to follow the trail of the markets. These larger time frames are beginning to maybe think about going bullish, but those can flip on a dime. I want to see some strong confirmation. I mean, we're flirting at the 50 on the RSI. The MACD doesn't really know what it wants to do. Nothing confident is happening currently on Chainlink. This is boring trading. Last thing I guess we can look there on Link is liquidations. Let's take a look at what the 12-hour and the 7-day is saying here. Yeah, we're taking out a lot of liquidity right now. A lot of shorts are being liquidated. Guess where those liquidated shorts stop? Somewhere between 1850 to 19, right? So somewhere in that range, just like I was saying. But guess what? We got some longs piling up here that could bring us back down towards 17. So let's not freak out too much about Chainlink. If you want to acquire some more, I think acquiring some Chainlink at $18 is a steal. I would love to get some more towards $13 maybe, but can't complain about $18 either.
Yeah.
What else do we have? What else are we looking at? Daniel Razzo says, I'm with JP Morgan on this one. Glad I took profits to reinvest after a few week correction. I hear you, Daniel. Great. I mean, good for you. If you took some profit above 70, good for you. Now the question is, where are you reallocating? Are you reallocating at 60? Did you already reallocate? Are you going to wait for 48? Are you going for lower? What happens if your number doesn't get hit? What's your like? I'm okay with people taking profit and looking for another buy-in, but make sure you have multiple plans, because what if your goal is 48K and we never get to 48K? What if we go to 50 and not 48? But then you didn't deploy anything. By the time you're ready to deploy again, because you didn't have a backup plan, price is back up at $70,000 and you were waiting for 48. What's your backup plan? What are you looking to happen to change your mind on where to buy? We can get on here on YouTube day in and day out and tell you levels of this and levels of that and saying we think Bitcoin could go here. But ultimately, if you guys ever hear us say things like, well, it could go up, it could go down, that frustrates some people. But why do we say it could go up, could go down? Because we're preparing ourselves for, hey, I might lean bearish, but in case I'm wrong and the price goes up, this is how I'm going to react to it, right? So good for you for taking profits, but what's your plan from here on? Where's your next buy order and what's your backup buy order? That's very important you have those, because what good was it to take profit at 70K if your next buy-in is 75? Now you just lost out on $5,000 worth of profits you could have taken if you had like a whole Bitcoin or something.
Well, maybe his plan is to rotate into Floki.
Maybe. In which case, where are you buying Floki? That's a good point.
Get that Floki going. Yeah, there's a lot of really good comments in here. Joe Buddy had something to say about your homeschool world, but he also said all charts have shown 18 months after halving is the entire cycle. So Q2 2025, it's all over. So sell as it goes up, have a plan, and stick to it.
Yeah,
I believe with like I agree with like 70 to 80% of that.
I mean, he's just talking about, I hear what he's saying. He's talking about 18 months from the halving. That puts us in late summer, potentially early fall for the top. Then you have the other argument that maybe we have an early cycle that tops out somewhere in late January, early February. There's a lot that's going to have to kind of see how this plays. This is where I'm telling everybody, remember when the rolling argument was, Tim, don't be bearish. This time's different. We're going to do everything different. We hit new all-time highs we're having. That's different. We haven't had a 30 or 40% pullback. That's different. All right? That's great. Everyone loves this time is different when it means something bullish. But what if this time is different and we don't go 18 months after the halving? What if this time is different and we only go 9 months, 10 months? That doesn't sound as fun, does it? That's the problem with this time is different. By the way, I'm not trying to fudge you out. I still think we see bull markets into later 2025. But I do want to prepare you guys. When you live by this time is different, you're going to die by this time is different as well. I think that while there have been some different things here, don't throw history out with the bathwater. Still apply some historical principles into your reasoning for where price is going to move. Even if certain things break, the whole idea of it should stay intact.
Yeah. Yes, but this is the first time we've hit all-time high before the halving. The reality is in every cycle there's a first. There's some kind of statistical first that happens. This is a very glaring and blatant first.
Strange first.
It doesn't really mean a whole lot, right? I mean, that's why it's not the major question right now in crypto. The major question is this Ethereum ETF going to get approved, or is it going to become a security? We didn't really talk about that on today's episode because we talked about it yesterday and on the 9 a.m. stream. Yeah. So if you're curious about that, go watch our show from yesterday or watch the 9 a.m. stream from this morning where I cover that more in depth. But there's a reason why, Bitcoin hitting an all-time high isn't the main thing that everybody's pulling their hair out about. Honestly, if you want to really look into Bitcoin in that level, look up the power law with Bitcoin. That's been a major mathematical breakthrough with taking a look at Bitcoin. And there's a specific guy who's like obsessed with it. Kroger on, what is this guy's name? I'll find it.
You never know.
Paul
Ada A
Kroger?
says the question is, if Bitcoin hits 48K, are you buying? I'll be honest with you guys, just because I don't want to mislead you. I am not going to be buying Bitcoin at 48K. I have enough Bitcoin for this bull market. I'm good. I have some dry powder that I need to get some more alts. I will be using the 48K trigger of Bitcoin to deploy a lot of altcoin purchases. That being said, if you don't have enough Bitcoin or you think you're low on Bitcoin and it hits 48K, we're not here to give financial advice, but that is the time to buy. And that is financial advice, and I don't need to give it to you. If I was a smart man looking to acquire more Bitcoin, I would be buying if I see 48K. I have enough Bitcoin, but when I see 48 on Bitcoin, and we say this before too, guys, why do we cover Bitcoin every single day? It's not because Bitcoin's going to be the biggest money maker. It's because the markets follow what Bitcoin does. So we cover Bitcoin TA to have an understanding of where the altcoins more than likely are heading. And that 48K trigger will be my trigger to deploy a lot of capital into some more alts that I'm under invested in.
Yeah, this is the guy who talks about the power law a lot. Fred Krueger. Yeah, if you don't follow him,
like Freddy Krueger, is that his dad?
He also posted, this is some breaking news, Argentinians buying Bitcoin instead of dollars. From Bloomberg, Argentinians Bitcoin demand rises to highest level in 20 months. Stronger peso in parallel markets discourage dollar savings. So while we're seeing outflows in the United States, net outflows today and yesterday, in other countries where, they need crypto much more urgently, you were seeing record highs in Bitcoin purchases. And I'm not surprised. We might have to do a deep dive, Tim, on Javier Milei, because I believe he just passed his 100th day in office. So we might have to put out, maybe I'll do a 9 a.m. video on that. Next week.
Time has flown. I feel like it was like last month he got elected. When did he get elected? He got elected in the fall?
I believe so. Yeah. I mean, I saw that headline somewhere. 100 days.
Yeah. I mean, if he did that in December, I guess we're pushing closer to 100 days removed from December.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. Well.
Yep.
Guys, it is 4:12. Let's get one more question, and we're going to call it a day today. There you go, Freddy Krueger, for sure. Matt says Fred Krueger has great content. Wasn't allowed to watch it. Again, homeschooled. If I'm not allowed to go to public school, I'm not allowed to watch Freddy Krueger. That's for sure.
What else weren't you allowed to watch? Were you allowed to watch SpongeBob?
We would be here all day. If we would be here all day if we go through the list of things I was not allowed to watch.
You know what I wasn't allowed to watch?
That is a different stream completely.
You know that show it was on PBS. I hope my mom's watching so she can feel the wrath.
Yeah.
But probably
I watch this show every night before bed now, Mom. Just because you said I couldn't.
She wouldn't let me watch this show that was on PBS.
I was allowed to watch Arthur.
And you know why? Because she didn't didn't like the bad attitude of this.
Yeah, that was Rugrats for me. I was not allowed to watch Rugrats because they had bad attitudes.
Ooh, compared to what's on TikTok today, it is so wild. It is so wild.
Lazarus Hand, I was not allowed to watch Power Rangers.
Look at this. New meme coin. Investing Bros launches a meme coin, the Arthur coin. Look at that. It just looks
your
good.
Your mom probably just unsubscribed because you're revealing that you're not allowed to watch Arthur, and now you're advertising it on our channel.
Yeah.
So bad attitudes galore. Now our community is now susceptible to bad attitudes. Last question of the day. Delusional says, "How is Smay doing?" That's a great question. Smay is doing phenomenal.
He's good.
He's doing. He keeps keeps denying. He says he's going to come on a Saturday show. Maybe he should come on tomorrow. I think Matt C is going to join us tomorrow. Matt C, of course. Matt and I go way back. We're celebrating 10,000 subscribers. How cool would that be if Smay did as well? But I say that having not talked to Smay this week, and I do not put the chances as high that he joins tomorrow. But one of these Saturdays, my boy Smay is going to join the stream. T-Shroom, I think that's all we have for today. This Friday's been a very fun Friday. Guys, tomorrow, Saturday, 11 a.m., be here. We're celebrating 10K. Matt C's going to join. He's going to come on and tell embarrassing stories of Tim and T-Shroom in the early days of the channel. Also, we're going to find out which one of us, me or T-Shroom, wins the first ever Investing Bros week-long 5-coin trading challenge.
That's right.
There's a little bit of a rally today on Bohm. His big winner was taking a little bit of a leak.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to have to find out this coming down to the wire tomorrow. Do not miss it, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. With that said, have a fantastic weekend, everybody. We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros. Army pipe, lethal on trade. Entries and exits, worthy of praise. Tim, the professor of the TA. Shouted out loud on the PA. T-Shroom's news got the word. Doing better than what he deserves. Beamer, leave no evidence. Soon fly coop with his dividend. Trying to make paper, turn that better to cake. Money like Lego, connect the dots that bank. We are investing bros. We are investing bros.